Hi, I'm Pat Overham with ICS, and on behalf of our entire team, I'd like to thank you for tuning in today. For the past 20 years, I've had the pleasure of working with K-12 school districts all over the state of Minnesota, and there's nothing more rewarding than seeing the potential for positive change transition into reality through facility projects. These projects are about way more than bricks and mortar. They're about positively impacting the people that are served by the facilities. Today, we wanted to focus on some projects that involve partnerships. Whether it's a school district partnering with a regional hospital to develop a community wellness center, or a school district that wants to partner with a business or industry partner to enhance career and technical education space or develop a fine arts auditorium, or a district that is partnering with a city or county to develop a joint use space. All of these types of projects have proven to be a very efficient use of taxpayer dollars. They've been a great way for these entities to share space and resources, and they've proven to be an incredible way to impact not only the students and the staff, but community members that utilize these facilities on a daily basis. And that's why we're excited about sharing some of these real-life partnership examples with you today.
Hi, I'm Jeff Schultz with ICS. I'm here to talk to you about an exciting partnership that occurred between MREA Hospital and Healthcare Organization based in Mora, Minnesota, and the Mora Public Schools. In 2018, a 63,000 square foot facility was built connected to the elementary school in Mora. Some of the different attributes associated with this facility includes an elevated walking track for community and public use. It has a full fitness room and community space rooms. It's got medical exam and support rooms to be utilized by the MREA medical folks as part of the partnership. It also includes a full-size basketball court, volleyball court, tennis courts, and pickleball courts for use of the community, as well as use for the school during school hours. It also includes 2 batting cages and then a full-size track inside the facility, along with pole vault pits and long jump pits to host regional track meets, particularly in the spring when we're unable to get outside. It also serves and has a commons area and concession area as part of the facility. The building was built as a result of that partnership that I talked about between the school district and the healthcare facility for a total of $10.6 million, with both entities splitting the cost. Part of the cost from the Mora Public Schools came from a voter-approved referendum in November of 2017 for a total of $3 million. The MREA Wellness Center serves the community in both healthcare needs as well as continuous all year round, a facility that's shared for the students, the community, and MREA. It really is a great example of a great win-win-win partnership for the community of Mora.
I'm joined today by Brent Nelson, high school principal from the Mora Public Schools, and Randy Alsep from the MREA Health System based in Mora, Minnesota as well. First of all, welcome, gentlemen. I appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
The timing was right. When the school was working through their project, community wellness centers is really something that has been coming to the forefront in healthcare and actual health systems. We've had a lot of interest since then, just creating an opportunity to focus on wellness and keeping people well rather than always concentrating on folks after they have an illness.
We were adding to an elementary school at the time. So when Mr. Ulsa says the timing was right, it really was for us. We had money already allocated for a space. You could probably call it gross motor space. It was going to serve DAPE and before and after school care, things like that. So we really benefited. Instead of having this small space, working with MREA, we were able to provide a much larger, nicer space.
They may refer patients to a fitness program, whether it's stretching or whatever kind of cardio exercise. So it's available to that. We also have space for our sports medicine provider, and sports medicine isn't just for school kids. It's for we weekend warriors too. In fact, we probably injure ourselves more often than the kids do. So it provides all of that, as well as for the community, what Brent talked about, and that's exercise for our kids. Childhood obesity is a big issue, and an issue that this facility helps us address.
We separate it during the school day. So upstairs is for community and the public. That's the Wellia space. Downstairs is the school space. So we don't have people from the public who are there to walk and get exercise like Randy was talking about. We don't have them interacting or crossing students in the hallway or anything. They have their own separate entrance. They have a key fob access that gets them to stairs or an elevator, takes them up to the walking track. As far as sharing, we have a community education in the Mora School District. And one thing that we've done is we've picked times, days of the week for a few hours where we open it up for open gym. And sometimes we'll have a decent amount of people there. A lot of times it'll be kind of quiet.
Brent, any perspective you might have on how has this partnership help the school district with their mission and with the school district as you've been working towards a new high school?
I would say it's definitely helped. One, I mentioned this earlier, but having that gathering space, a community hub, we haven't really had that, and now we do. So I think when you look at that, it's made people think about new spaces a little differently in our community. Also, to be really honest, we worked with ICS and Wold, and just the fact that we've had projects with these groups before. When I say projects, I mean our elementary edition and now the wellness center, and both were on time and under budget. People pay attention to that. They notice that. So when we're trying to run referendums for new high schools, a lot of times there's fear about the cost. So that helped ease some of that. Another thing I would say is it shows Mora community members that, hey, we can have something nice and new. We haven't had that. And when you walk in the wellness center, it's amazing. It's clean, it's nice, it's huge, it's everything we could ask for.
Maybe ask what advice you might have for other communities that might be trying to do something similar.
I have had the opportunity, and Jeff, you know this, and Brent, you know this, I think you both have participated. Our community wellness center is the envy of many rural communities. I think that we've had members from, I don't know, a half a dozen different communities from the hospital and the school side come and visit and express the desire to do it. We took advantage of the timing, and that was helpful. But I think the important thing is to make sure that it meets the mission of all organizations involved in whatever partnership, and this very much did.
Dream big. Ask the tough questions, because if you might be surprised in your community what you have available. Sometimes there's things that people aren't going to come forward unless you ask the question. And we were fortunate. I don't take any credit. We had an amazing school board. Mr. Ulseth and his board were amazing, and they worked together and got it done. But I think the worst that could happen is you hear no. So I would say start having conversations in your community.
I love your comment on dream big. Brent, I'm not sure when and where you were involved, but at one point we were talking about a tent, and we ended up with what we have. So absolutely dream big.
Those educators out there, when you have elementary moms walking on the track up above the elevated track, watching your 2 Phi-Ed classes going on, you can guarantee those teachers up their game, students up their game. Everyone likes an audience. So you want to improve education, get some parents watching.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I don't know, any other stories like that? Randy, any other stories you got?
There were people in our community that didn't think we needed this, that didn't support this necessarily on the front end, that are walking on a regular basis and watching kids. And it's great to see the interest that the walkers have in what the kids are doing. And it's just a ball to go over there and you have music blaring and the kids playing dodgeball, and and grandparents walking around the track watching them. It's really, really cool. Just having that interaction in a safe way is really awesome.
The investment in the businesses in the local community, that's a big part of this. That's a lot of fans that are coming to MREA. Our tournaments, sometimes we're hosting another section or another community wants to rent our space and host tournaments. So that's a lot of people going out for lunch and frequenting our businesses. So it's definitely an investment.
I think that exercise in school is a good start to living an active lifestyle. And with all of the things that pull our kids away from active lifestyle, video games and whatever, I think that that having that as a start to their young lives really helps with their exercise regimen as they get older. And then having the opportunity for folks that are maybe up in age a bit, where walking around outside ice or snow or through the rain just isn't realistic, or is dangerous, and we give them the opportunity to exercise. So, you know, I think all the way from cradle to grave, this helps the community stay healthier.
Just excited for you guys.
Well, if you are still recording, Brent, you know, maybe we could do a high five.
There's a high five. I love it.
Hi everybody, Dave Bergeron with ICS. I want to talk to you today about Brainerd Schools and the community partnerships that have helped them to better fulfill their mission of educating students. In April of 2018, the district again engaged their communities to help fund the needed improvements across the district. Question 1 was to address their elementary needs. Question 2 was to address their high school and secondary needs. And question 3 was to improve their high school auditorium to be more of a community performing arts center. The communities embraced the improvements and all 3 questions passed. One of the keys to the Brainerd process has been the district's commitment to strong community partnerships. Community partnership with the business community that has led to enhanced and improved career and technical education spaces. Community partnership with the arts community that has led to a community performing arts center, and spaces that are more welcoming to the communities to come in and use those spaces. This project has been extremely successful, mainly due to the number of community partnerships that the district has engaged in.
I think everyone that has worked with me or knows me, that I often use a saying that says, if you have any kind of a concept that you're going to do this alone, it's not going to work. It's not going to happen. And so one of the things that I believe that I brought to the project when I came is I kept telling people we need to hear from all of the constituents. From the beginning, we did several different listening sessions. I would say we did just about 200 different listening sessions. And a couple of those listening sessions had to do with the Brainerd Chamber. We also met with some of the business owners throughout the community and visited with them to see what they were looking for in a school if they were to support a project such as what we were bringing forward. And so often we heard the same things. First of all, they wanted to make sure that our students and our staff were safe. They also wanted to make sure that we had well-rounded and robust programs in the academics, the arts, the activities, and also in the athletics. They also were very interested in what we were doing as far as career and technical education and developing, having workforce development within our project. And so in our 8 goals, all of those items that they talked about were specific goals right from the beginning that we were going to focus on, and as we make our decisions even moving forward, that we'll take into consideration, because our community partners and our business community came out in support of this project because of how we ensured that those were passions for us as well. And we also felt that they were best practices for what we were going to provide students in the future and to provide the workforce of the future in the Brainerd Lakes area.
Can you talk a little bit about how the chamber played a big role in helping the referendum through and still supports the project today?
Yeah, the chamber was wonderful, and they were also critical. in the passing of this referendum. But it's similar to what I said earlier in that we met with the chamber many times, sometimes with just a few people all the way to the full board, to talk about, first of all, what is it that you are looking for in this project if you were to support it. We had several task forces. We had task forces to look at the budget and the financing for this project. We had career and technical education task force with workforce development. We had a task force to look at the athletics and all of the health and wellness facilities. We had an arts task force to look at if we were able to pass the referendum to develop a regional performing arts center, what would the community need? And those are just a few of the examples where we brought the chamber in as part of the visioning for what the project would look like, and what the project ended up when we went out to ask the community for their support. It's wonderful since we know now that this passed, but the arts community was instrumental in getting that third question passed and supporting it. We are currently on time, under budget, and really excited about the project and the cooperation that we've had from our chamber, our community, our staff, and working alongside with ICS and all of the contractors that have been a part of this project. Something we're extremely proud of is approximately 80% of all of our project to date is being done by contractors that are within 60 miles of Brainerd. And so this has just been a real boost to our contractors and such in our local community as well. And it truly is a community partnership focused on education.
The first thing I would say is that there's many aspects to a thriving community, and business and education are certainly two of those that, as those two sectors go, so does the health of the community. And in Brainerd, one of our big challenges is attracting a qualified workforce to fill all the various job opportunities and career opportunities that we have here. So one of the first things that families look at when they move into town is the school system. That's the first thing that they want to see. The style is as important as the substance. And so when this referendum opportunity came in front of the chamber, we really looked at it very closely with the school district as a partner in a way to invest in our schools so that the substance was there, but so was the aesthetics and the style that we needed to attract families into the area. That was our showcase, and we wanted to invest in that. So we had a great partnership very early on. We had lots of meetings, lots of conversations. There was a sense of trust and transparency that was formed very quickly, and the business community got behind that referendum, and we're very proud of it.
In June of 2019, there was an article in the Minneapolis Tribune that was about the Brainerd $205 million investment in schools and how it was good business. Mm-hmm. And you had a quote in that article that there had to be a good business case to move forward.
Right.
And I'm just wondering how the district or the business community looked at the overall process and said there was a good business case for this to move forward.
The first thing that you need in order to have a partnership that's built on trust is you need a lot of transparency. And the school district really reached out to the business community via the Chamber of Commerce, via the Economic Development Association, and a variety of other business groups to not only just sell them on the idea, but to get feedback. There's a lot of smart people in the room in any community, from the business sector especially. So we looked at this not just whether there's a good case to be made for new shiny schools, but really what's the business case for it? What's the comfort level that the school district is really sharpening their pencils and making sure this was a good deal for the taxpayers within our county? And so when we looked at that as the business community, we looked at certainly the end product and that contributing to workforce development. But we also looked at that particular moment in time where the interest rates were low, the economy needed a little boost, and you know, the whole idea that we could do this all at once, it would be more affordable, it would be less piecemeal, and really questioned a lot of the different aspects in those proposals, and found out through that process that the school district was being very conservative, very responsible with what they were doing. And that gave our business community a lot of comfort. And I think when the chamber got behind it, it gave the community a lot of comfort that someone had really gone through this thing with a fine-tooth comb, and that was a good, positive partnership there. Like many communities, one of our goals is downtown revitalization. That was the heart of the community. That was the history of the community. And really, when communities die, they die from the inside out. And we recognize that. And that's why the Chamber and a number of other organizations has taken downtown revitalization and that economic development very seriously. Now, in the Brainerd area, we're blessed that we have the high school right in the downtown area. When you look at revitalizing downtowns, it really comes down to your ability to attract events, your ability to attract art, and create a sense of place and a sense of entertainment within that district. So to us, when they proposed the Performing Arts Center as an optional piece of the project, it made a ton of sense because it not only created opportunities for our students, but it created opportunities for our downtown. And all of that helps with revitalization, of course, but it also helps with attracting families. When they move to a community, they want to be proud of it and they want things to do. And that added that aspect. The school construction project really couldn't have come at a better time for our community, as COVID has really taken its toll on this area as a tourism community more than others across the state. The whole idea that this construction was getting done not just to one facility, but several schools throughout the community. And the fact that the school district prioritized working with local vendors, local contractors, buying services locally, but also buying products locally. That gave us a boost during this COVID crisis that we've all been enduring over the past 6 months. But even if it wasn't for that, it is so important for small towns to invest in themselves and keep dollars in their community, especially tax dollars. So you can feel the economic impacts, and I think we'd be a lot worse off today if it wasn't for very deliberate action to keep those dollars local and invest in ourselves. If another community is thinking about doing one of these bonding referendums, my advice would be not to take any shortcuts. The outreach is very important, whether it's the Chamber of Commerce, whether it's the Teachers Association, or whether it's the Quilters Club. They all deserve those very personal engagements and presentations. What we found is that good ideas and critical thinking come from everywhere. It's not just the elite organizations within a community. And I think when people feel part of it, they get behind it, the project improves because of those efforts. And they're more successful because people took the time to reach out. So what I would say is, for any community looking to do this, really go above and beyond in order to engage people, engage organizations, and make the project better and more successful. As communities approach these facility and community improvement projects, it really makes sense to have an organization that's going to be professional, that's going to be transparent, and that's going to be present in your community. In order to build trust and relationships, you just have to be there. And I can't say enough about ICS. They hosted more than 100 community meetings. And they were just as present as the school district or the chamber or any other community organization within the whole process. And that gave the community a lot of comfort that this company wasn't just coming in fly by night, doing a couple of presentations and then waiting for the outcome. They were truly engaged in the process, but they're also invested in the community. And I would just recommend that any city or school district looks to a firm like ICS to guide them along the path, because it's well worth the time and investment.
Hello, my name is Natalie Hoff with ICS. I'm here to tell you about an interesting and impactful project in the Deer River community, and involved the Deer River School District at King Elementary more specifically. In fall of 2015, the community passed a $10.5 million referendum by almost 68%. How did they do that? They did this by leveraging partnerships in the community. In regards to that project, they built an early childhood area where they're impacting the youngest of students early on so that they integrate into the Deer River School District once they graduate from early childhood. They built a senior center, integrating the older population into that community and working with the students. You'll hear more about that later. A community cafe where they're serving people who are in need of good, nutritious meals during the week, kind of like a Meals on Wheels per se. A Boys and Girls Club where they can bring students after school as an option for parents and students to utilize the gym in the school district. So the community really came together in passing this referendum to serve the whole community, serve all ages, from the youngest to the oldest of participants in the community. They really did a nice job here. You should check it out.
Many schools will sometimes adopt the term community school or represent themselves as a community school, and that's a little bit different than really, kind of going through the key elements of becoming a full service community school. And I think the thing that really I think summarizes best what the Deer River version of a full service community school was a resolution that the school board passed. And some of the highlights I think that make it noteworthy are primarily the foundation of is that every child should be able to grow up and have the opportunity to achieve his or her dreams and contribute to the well-being of society. And in a very diverse and large school district, large as far as area that it covers, school district, that's a really important core value for this community to have, is that the opportunity is there for everybody, no matter what part of the district or what their background is. And a community school is defined as a place with a set of strategic partnerships. And I think that's really critical here. It's very well connected to the story about the King Facilities Improvement Project. Some of the unique things that are in a full service community school are comprehensive programs and services that deal with all the aspects of life that aren't traditionally tackled by the school, that are important because when the students come to school, they are carrying with them their whole life and all the things that are going on in their life. And rather than work around those, the full service community school deals directly with those and provides help with housing, medical and dental care, food security. They deal with a lot of mental health, processing the trauma and violence that some kids are exposed to, and just tries to make sure that kids can reach their full potential.
And Jen Steffen is the principal at King Elementary, where all these wonderful things are taking place. Jen, can you talk about the services there and what impact that you believe it has on the students?
Absolutely. So when we started work on the full service community schools model, it was really out of a need to support families with food access and also access to healthcare. And it's really grown over the years that we've been working to implement this model. We have connections and relationships built in our community. And so when I think of how seamlessly we were able to roll out our food service program during distance learning, and we watched other school districts have a challenging go of that because it was a huge process. But because of the relationships we had in place and that kind of that system in place, we were able to reach out and have our meal program going within a couple of days.
I've always been a big believer in kind of looking for, opportunity to work in a district that was all in on full service community schools. And so I did, find out a lot about what was happening in Deer River, and I became aware kind of during the interview process that they had been awarded a federal grant to support the full service community schools. So that's a huge expansion of staff and resources to help put this together. But a bigger community only happens when there's bridging activities. And that's a very difficult thing to create, those bridging opportunities, because of lack of trust, lack of resources, lack of communication. And the public schools are really one of those trusted entities that can pulling together, those bridging opportunities.
The work is really, it's going outside of the school community, and it's impacting the Deer River community, at large, which is, that's pretty amazing for this little rural elementary school that, community members who don't have a child in the school district are also benefiting, I guess, from the work. So, our community knows a lot about the needs of our kids. And so we have a lot of different organizations and churches who will, I don't think there's a week that goes by that somebody doesn't donate school supplies for our children, clothing. There was just a huge stack of blankets in the office for our full service community schools manager to deliver. As we hear of a need in the community, we have partners which have really grown over the last 5 years, and we're able to reach out to our partners to fill a need. So over the last couple of years, in our second conference room, so we call it our flex room, which is one of our new spaces. It's a beautiful conference room space. Sometimes we hold meetings with parents in there, we hold staff meetings in there, and sometimes it is a full-fledged dental clinic. And I've been in there, and there have been children getting their teeth cleaned. And through that process, then we'll get referrals for more serious dental issues. And, there's a huge correlation between dental work and, the dental needs and success in school. So we're trying to address, eyeglasses. That's a huge, huge issue. I was a first grade teacher at King for many years. And if you have a child that doesn't have access to a vision appointment and then glasses, you're trying to teach them how to read, and obviously a lot of challenges. So we definitely are trying to get those clinics here, but we also will take children out for vision and dental and medical appointments.
I know this summer when I came on board, we were planning for improvements at Deer River High School, which is also, a site where we'll be able to expand our reach of the full service community school. It started out primarily focused on the needs of the younger kids, but now it can kind of radiate out to the entire district and to both sites. So I do know that as we examined the facilities improvement concept at the high school, I kept hearing over and over again how the community responded to the facilities needs at King, and the effort to bring everybody on board was very successful. So we want to try to replicate that moving forward with what we do at the high school. So one of the aspects of the improvements at King was creating better spaces for wraparound childcare. The morning, the end of the day, all those times where the community people are able to work and do other activities by having quality childcare, and that it works through a partnership with the Boys and Girls Club of Leech Lake, and that's a partnership that is renewed again for another couple of years. And also, I know that when you take a community-wide approach and you talk about a community school, you want it to be across all generations and all age groups. And so My understanding was there was a lot of support from seniors in the community to make the facilities improvements. They knew it was good for the district. And they also included a space for seniors. There was a big boost from the seniors. They really enjoyed not only using their senior space, but as Jen said, be a part of meals, be a part of volunteering and things like that. So, full service community school sometimes gets narrowed down because of the limited resources, but the concept is to span all generations and the full breadth of the community. And with the extra resources that we have now and the improved facilities at King and potentially the improved facilities at the high school, it's really going to be more and more opportunity for intergenerational experiences that, are at the heart of, a community. And
facilities wise, where our Boys and Girls Club room is, with the art and science room next to it, and the cafeteria, it works great for our regular school year Boys and Girls Club programming. It's right next to the food pantry. I mean, so the design of that, now that we're living it, works really, really well. We have our kindergarten hallway, which flows into our early childhood hallway. And through a partnership with Leech Lake Head Start and Invest Early, we have services for infants and toddlers. And then we also have 3-year-old and 4-year-old classrooms. So that's all right on site here. So many of our children come and many of our teachers access the childcare, which is early childhood programming, which is wonderful. So many of our teachers have babies or infants and they're able to bring them to King School for childcare. And then, they go into the early childhood 3- and 4-year-old program and then right into the kindergarten hallway.
How well the design of the King Elementary School and that within that footprint, how well those pieces function together, supporting the full community. And I would say one of the things that's really apparent when you come in as a new person, you see that the entire campus has been organized in a way that the outdoor, playground facilities, align with the spaces inside, so easy access to get in there, and they're wonderful facilities. And even everything like parking lots and traffic flow for safety and how people route themselves around the campus to obtain these services is very convenient. And there's also a lot of open space still at that campus that, like right now when we're emphasizing getting outside, it's great to get out on the playgrounds or just out into the woods and things like that to give kids a break during the day. So the facilities improvements at King weren't just about the classroom space only. As Jen said, it's all those other services that support the full service community school model, and it extends across that entire campus to be very functional and thinks about the entire 24/7 day of what we're doing for the district and not just the bell to bell of the school day.
Here to talk about a unique partnership with the Independent School District 318 that's based out of Grand Rapids, Minnesota, and the cities of Grand Rapids and Cohasset. In April of 2018, the Grand Rapids School District essentially passed a $68.9 million referendum. As part of this referendum stemmed from years of planning and partnerships between the city of Cohasset and the city of Grand Rapids. Let me start by just talking a little bit about the partnership with the city of Grand Rapids. The school district and the city spent a significant amount of time looking at where it would be the best location to place 2 brand new elementary schools within the city limits of Grand Rapids. From the various discussions came out properties that were owned by the city of Grand Rapids, and they worked on a land swap between the school district and the city of Grand Rapids to swap land for best use by both entities. The land the school district received allowed them to build their schools, one next to athletic facilities, which saved the taxpayers money from not having to build new athletic facilities. The other was on a fresh piece of property that was also then to be sold in some lots in and around the school to allow for future expansion and economic development for the city. In exchange for that, the city of Grand Rapids received property that would be surplus by the school district from a former school site and one of the elementary schools that would no longer be in use by the school district, to allow the city, again, to use that property for economic development and housing. The partnership with the City of Cohasset allowed the school district to include onto the school a daycare facility and a senior citizen and community center facility to be added onto the elementary school to serve the general public. Part of the reason the City of Cohasset included a daycare facility onto the elementary school, they had a lot of folks that were trying to move to the area to fill open jobs, but they couldn't find daycare. So they felt like that capital investment would be a future economic boost for the community of Cohasset.
Pat Maduri, School Board Chair from Independent School District 318. Pat joins us. He is the School Board Chair and has been for quite some time, a longtime board member representing not just the school district, but also I've always been impressed how he represents the various communities that are served by the school district. Also joined by Max Peters, City Administrator for the City of Cohasset. Welcome, Max. And then also Tom Pagel, City Administrator for the City of Grand Rapids. Well, I'd like to welcome you all to the call.
Today, everybody has in their mindset, well, what's in it for me? Well, here's what's in it for you. City of Cohasset, you got a senior center, you're gonna have a daycare center, they're gonna be attached to the school. The City of Cohasset upsized the gym in Cohasset so that that gym will be accessible to their residents. And here in Grand Rapids, the partnerships with one of the sites on the east sites and using the fields there, the soccer fields and the softball fields. And here we are down at the west site and the housing project there. And I know houses are starting to be built there. And again, it just, you got to show the community, you got to speak to the community on the benefit of it. And again, just through those partnerships, my opinion, it had a lot to do of getting this referendum passed and the working together piece. Big difference from the first time we failed 2-1 to the second time when we passed it.
Really, I think what's amazing about this collaboration really was this intersection of opportunity. You know, that we as a city were looking at, you know, our current facilities and wondering, you know, what we could do to bolster our you know, the community that we have. Looking at the school as an opportunity, and then really even being able to look and scan, you know, look at, you know, using Deer River as the model. You know, I mean, that's really where this starts, of having a co-located elementary school, daycare facility, and senior community center. You know, the Deer River model was really seeing that, you know, I think allowed a lot of people to have a vision that it was achievable. So looking at those, kind of saying, well, why couldn't we do this at the Cohasset Elementary, and really leverage keeping the school there with, you know, in having the city invest some funds, you know, to even expand that facility, and then to add the, you know, daycare and the community center.
Here we got the senior center that's attached to the school. We have a daycare center attached to the school. What great resource do we have there that we can interlink and interconnect between the schools, daycare, and senior centers to help us? We're always looking for volunteers, and a lot of seniors are willing to come in and volunteer and work with kids. So I see this as Max mentioned the word opportunity. There's more opportunity down the road here. We just got to get the timing in place now and get COVID put aside so where we can really solidify that going forward. And Max made a great point, and I just want to reiterate that a little bit. You know, everything is built on a relationship, and if you don't have a relationship, you don't normally have trust. And I got to give credit to Max and Tom from both cities here, as well as other people within the county. We have a lot of relationships going vice versa, this way, that way, and that builds trust. And when you bring an idea to the table, people are willing to sit down and listen to that, and if they buy into it, they're on board, and they're going to work towards that goal. And this Cohasset project with the city and the school, it's just a prime example on where we landed. And again, as said, we're filling a gap of services that was needed.
So Tom, the unique partnerships that were formed between the city of Grand Rapids and the school district, a lot were around land. Could you just kind of describe the various partnerships as briefly as you can, all the coordination efforts between the two entities?
And fortunately, in this case, for the two new elementary schools in the city, in both cases, the city owned the property. So it made it fairly easy for the district to acquire the properties. We were actually able to reduce monetary transactions and simply trade properties. Elementary schools are a huge part of a healthy community, and housing is a huge part of a healthy community. And so as we speak, the Riverview school site's being redeveloped into a 56-unit combination of townhomes and apartment complexes for working families, up to 80% median household income. And we envision the Forest Lake Elementary site being redeveloped similar to the former middle school site, where that will be a workforce housing again, but single family housing. And then the West Elementary school site, the brand new site, really created an opportunity for about 15 to 16 market rate new housing lots, along with a $27 million assisted living facility that's currently under construction. I think that partnership really helped us create a healthier community. And when you tie that with Cohasset's partnership with the district, with the community center, and with the daycare, this elementary school referendum just made us a much stronger community.
How about land transfers and land swaps with the city really helped the school district achieve your mission of trying to get a referendum passed for elementary schools?
Well, again, it showed the community that we were working together in the betterment of the community as a whole. And then in our area, in my opinion, everybody's concerned about their taxes. And I think this project in both communities showed that we were concerned about their taxes as well. And by developing these partnerships, I want to say we held the referendum dollars down, if that makes sense, because of the partnerships. In Grand Rapids, we were able to swap land out back and forth at a very reduced cost versus if we had to go buy this property off the market, so to speak. And those things just don't happen overnight. Now, if land was privately owned, we're probably going to pay market value on it, right? Well, that hits the taxpayers as well. In this case, as Tom mentioned, the city owned the property. It made it a little easier for us to work on those transactions. And then the other side of it is again, just to say what Tom did, housing's a shortage here. And with housing comes families. With families come kids. It helps the school district in the bigger picture. So again, a win-win all the way around, and great for the community.
What advice would you have for other school districts and cities that might be trying to work together? And Max, let's start with you.
I think the biggest one goes back to that conversation of collaboration and how you make that work. We have other projects where we try to collaborate with, other entities or, other government agencies, and it doesn't always go, smoothly. So I think one of the big challenges is trying to find that mutually beneficial kind of perspective, making sure that in a good collaboration, both sides are getting a little bit of what they want. And I think when you look at that through that lens of just, if it was one side that was winning, it'd be a much more difficult collaboration. And I don't think it works as well. So I think, trying to identify and establish what those, mutually beneficial wins are for each organization, I think that's actually really important in understanding how well these things can work.
Tom, any thoughts from you on advice for other school districts and cities that might be trying to work together?
Every public entity needs to communicate with each other, and they need to recognize that sometimes you need to give, and you aren't necessarily going to have a greater benefit than the other entity, but ultimately it does come back. I remember Pat Maduri wrestling me in my office on the West Elementary site. And I was thinking to myself, my God, we're investing a lot of money in infrastructure out here. But just sitting here in this interview and talking to you, all of a sudden I'm thinking to myself, the referendum was $70 million. And as a result of that, the city's seen $35 million and the school's only been open a month, So the city, county, and school district, as a result of the project, have already seen at least half of their investment on top of what they made come to fruition on the tax rolls. So yeah, be patient, be open, listen, and work together.
It's their tax dollars. And when we start competing with one another over their tax dollars, and what I mean their tax dollars, our tax dollars, the community tax dollars, we lose. We all lose in that sense. And a lot's been said here between Tom and Max is that you got to ask yourself, can we afford not to do this together? And the answer is you can't. You got to come together today and work on these projects. And Tom really hit the nail on the head. Is it's give and take, and we can't lose sight of the ball. And we got to look at the bigger picture. This is what we know today, but what's it going to look like in the future if we do this? And how does this benefit us as taxpayers in the long run? Again, relationships are built on communication. Communication and relationships equate out to trust. And I think over the years, there's been great communication between school districts in City of Rapids and City of Cohasset, and that equates out to trust. People come and go, but there's usually an anchor there at each one of those governing agencies that, you know, we worked with them before and it was a positive. Let's work with them again and it'll be another positive. When we stop talking, we all lose. And I don't mean we as a sense of a school district or Tom as a city or Max as a city, but as a community, we lose out. So we got to continue to foster those relationships. We got to continue to have that communication and look for the good in it. It's easy to say, well, we can't. We can come up with 1,001 reasons why we can't do this. And I always said, let's come up with one great reason why we need to do this and that it's really going to benefit the community. And it's working on a problem that we have in the community that we can solve by working together. And I believe we did that. And when you start thinking outside of the box, you start being creative and you look at potential problems that you have. How can we solve these problems by working together? And just a broad statement, I think in the environment that we're in today and people look at their tax dollars, they want to see people come together. They want to see government entities come together and spend their dollars wisely. And I would say this project did that. One other partnership for us, Jeff, when I say us at the school district, after the first failed referendum, we reached out to the Grand Rapids Chamber and talked with Bud Stoner, president of Grand Rapids Chamber, and asked for some of his members to get engaged and tell us, what are we missing? What are we missing in our plan? Is it the right plan, not the right plan? Do we need to do this, not to need to do that? And he formulated a committee and two individuals that led that committee actually led our referendum committee. And at the end of the day, they really reanalyzed what the school district did to bring it to a referendum and just reaffirmed what our conclusion was at the school district. And I think that spoke volumes to the community as well.
With other communities, with other cities, you know, look at ways to help your schools. You know, take those opportunities, like Pat said, to sit down and talk. When an idea comes up, try to figure out, you know, is there something else that we can add to it? Is there something else we can do that will create spin-off economic development with it? And don't close the doors, keep them open.
I'm Todd Rapp, CEO of Rapp Strategies, communication firm headquartered in Minneapolis. We're a proud partner of ICS. We've worked with them on dozens of referenda around the state, and we've worked for literally 50 school districts on either operating or building referenda. Our job is to help them think through the strategic communications. How do you reach your communities and engage people in a long-term vision? The first superintendent I ever worked with looked at me and said, Todd, I just feel like we're going from referendum to referendum. And my response to him was that, don't forget that a referendum is really an outcome. It's a benchmark. It's how you demonstrate whether or not the community truly understands the direction the school district is going to go. When a school district steps forward to partner with the cities and the counties and the hospitals and other community leaders, what they're really doing is making a commitment not just to today, it's to the next 50 years. And there's some real advantages if you think about how you want to engage your community to doing it. First of all, it brings on a variety of new advocates who will step forward and communicate the vision. Secondly, it creates a different story, a story that goes beyond simply what's going to happen in pre-K through 12 education, but how the entire community and its residents from age 1 to age 90 are going to engage with the school district. And finally, long after I'm gone, or your current superintendent or school board no longer runs for re-election, you've left an asset for the community. Because when you invest in your schools, you're investing in 50 years and several generations of students and staff. That's one of the reasons why community partnerships are so valuable, because of the investment you're making in the direction that your community is going, not just where they are today.
So thanks a lot for tuning in today. Our hope is that some of these real-life examples might spark some thought as to how a partnership might be the right solution for your facility needs. It can be difficult and challenging to try to develop these partnerships, but the outcomes are most certainly worth the work, and ICS is here to help, so feel free to give us a call. It's all about building strong connections.